Hi, hello, happy Sabbath and Shabbat Shalom. And there's little baby Gretel. She's out because we've got her being treated special with deworming medicines. Plus, she's getting beaten up by all the other goats. Or I mean, not all the other goats, but all the other big goats. Of course, we got over here on the playground, if you will, the wild children. I say that they're no more or less wild than the rest. They're just the ones that are. Here's a baby. Here's a Wayne Job. Here's a Wayne Job. How you doing? He's a baby. And up there's Rutabaga and Rototiller up on the ramp. And then there's Daisy over here trying to eat electrical wires, electrocute herself. Although at the moment it doesn't have any power in it. Yes, Daisy. And there's Candy. She's got some kind of lump on her chest. I don't know if it's a staph infection or a tumor or what. I'll have to have it checked. She's scratching at it or beating on it because it's irritating her. But I don't know what it is, but I'll have to have it checked because whatever it is. See that big lump right there? That needs to be dealt with somehow. Yeah, so over here we've got all these same kids and they're all alive going off. Yes. And Mercury. Here's a Mercury. Yes. There's a Wuzzy. Ow, don't eat my fingers. Can't have my fingers. See, I'll try to eat your fingers. But they push each other around so they won't eat my fingers. Because they're too busy fighting for over my fingers. Everybody's keeping their boss from eating my fingers. So over here, the boys have been over here eating on this a lot. Now see, Gretel and them have been in here eating this down, and pretty much nothing but dirt, but not completely obliterating it. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten any of this fence work done yet. There's Gretel. There's a baby. She's hoping for goodies, I'm sure. I see the tree shaking, probably a squirrel hopping around over there. Let's go this way. I don't usually go this way in the morning. Yeah, there's a squirrel up there. It was busy, I guess, trying to eat a walnut or something, and I spooked it when I came around the corner. But not put the camera straight in the sunlight. Not that it'll hurt your eyes. It just looks bad. So over here, you get a fresher view of the Rose of Sharon earlier in the morning. I've got to hopefully cut all these persimmon things down again. Give them to the babies. But right now the mower's still not working. This one does. They look like they get a little heat burn on them or something. We haven't been getting a lot of rain lately. So they're probably just drying out real bad from the lack of moisture. I don't know. Looks like Mr. O'Malley was over here, or Mr. Snookum's nesting next to Mom's window. That's what it looks like anyway. I've never seen him there. Mom says she's seen him around here. I moved that concrete because I was going to mow here before the mower quit working again. We'll talk about that here momentarily. We've got one single bell pepper getting along here, but there's like many little flowers hidden in the crooks of some of these leaf pockets, and so hopefully before long it'll make some more fruit. I've been harvesting quite a bit of a few of the Roma tomatoes, but I think a couple of them went missing on me, and never did look back here. No, they're not back there. But anyhow, So I thought a couple were on here the other day that I was going to harvest, and then they went and disappeared. And it's still flowering, so it's probably still setting fruit. This thing hasn't flowered hardly at all, so I'm going to try to get some more phosphorus in here. Still only got 5 tomatoes on here, the same ones I've showed you before. They're just, the plant's been turned so it leans against the wall and not on the ground. But it's the same plant. The water here is overflow from me actually, well, pretty much just watering the system over here. This plant still has 1 tomato. That 1 tomato appears to be starting to ripen now. So here any day that one's going to turn. I got to pick it. I've picked quite a few of the little golden cherry tomatoes. They're hard to get to in one way, not because there aren't a lot of them. They're not easy to see here. I don't know when I go yet. Let's see if we can get to this one here. Usually they'll just pluck right off there with no effort at all like that, yeah. So they're not totally ripe, but if you let them get totally ripe, they either fall off or the critters get them. Critter getters. There's one there. Let's see if it comes off. Nope. Still hanging on. Oh well. I'll put that in with those that are ripening. I've got either 7 or 8 more cucumbers on here to harvest. Because Sunday I plan on canning a bunch of pickles. And so these cucumbers here and some on the other side. I don't know if I can get a direct shot. There's 4. 1 up there, here. There's 4 on this side. Let me look at it from the other side to make certain I'm not missing any. And the problem is, depending on what angle you get at, you see different numbers of them. So I see 4 that may or may not be ready. I don't want to pick them before they're a certain size. Mom doesn't like them being picked that big because she doesn't. I agree with the taste of them. So there's 2 more. One down at the bottom. I can't get this thing clearly focus on that, but there's one right there. And then there's one right there. So that's 6. Then here's one right there. That's 7. So I know, and then here's one right here. That's 8. So these 8 cucumbers plus the cucumbers that I have in the house, which is 10 or 11. I may not have 20 cucumbers, but I'll have at least 20 pounds of cucumbers. Now, that way, I'm going to peel all these because of the fact that they'll, by peeling them, they'll pickle better for the way I pickle them. They won't have a tough rind on the outside. I won't throw away the rind. I'll pickle it separately. But the rind has to be kind of pickled. In fact, that's one reason for peeling it is to get to the inside of the rind, because the outside, even though it is semi-permeable, is not as permeable. So by peeling it all the way off, you make it more permeable, get it from both sides of a thin sheet. These porcelain berries, I'm going to review them just because, again, they're not common around here. They are here, but not common. They are edible, but they taste like nothing. I've had them before. They're not poisonous. They're usually grown as a decoration because they have different colors. I think that the grapes they're being eaten by the squirrels. But these things, they are a part of the grape family. They're not a grape, but they are part of the grape family. Same as muscadimes and a few other. Oh, there's a little cicada. I don't know if you can hear them in the background. We have a few cicadas buzzing in the background right now. Now, I've been doing better as far as my health this past week, so a lot of what I'm about to show you is because of that improved health. And so pretty soon, when somebody said, why didn't I put the camera up? Well, I'm just not organized enough. Now, I've got those little headband cameras, but I haven't quite got them figured out yet. And so I've got to probably talk to the seller or somebody and find out. Because, you know, one of the problems with Chinese-made products is usually it's that they don't come with instructions. Or they come with something that they call instructions that make about as much sense as gobbledygook that you get from a 3-year-old that has no idea what's going on. Maybe even less sense than that. 1-year-old making weird noises. So, I got a little bit of free stuff yesterday. Even got myself some bunny rabbit ears, which kind of fits in a cowboy hat, which doesn't really, but other than that, I haven't got no free junk loaded in this week. Alright, now, getting on down to it. You notice the inside of the mower is not inside it. It broke here, then I welded it, and it broke here, and I went down through here and re-welded it. Well, I found out after I did all that, I'll turn the light on so what I'm looking at. It broke here too, on both sides. So it broke both of these off before I could even get in there. Now I've been cutting some custom pieces of steel here, like this piece, and I can line this up and give you an idea of what it's meant to do. So let me just set this over here real quick so you can see what the plan is, the master plan. This is only part of it though. I'm going to go ahead and box the whole thing in, but this is one section. This piece will sit right here, and then there'll be a piece sit right here. You see where they join right here, they'll be welded, and I'll have one come down here, and I'll have one come down up through here, and then I'll box them together at the various points. These will just be merged here, and when I'm done, and then I'll probably weld in here a little bit too, so that because this thing shakes itself apart very violently. But I also want to balance it. Now, to explain how I want to try to balance it, see, I found this was given to me a while ago. It's just a bearing shaft with, 2 bearings. I'm going to see if I can't use it. I'll need new bearings, unfortunately, because those are pretty much junk. And you see this plate, well, this plate won't be used, but it gives you an idea. I'm going to try to put essentially a couple counterweights in here. Now, let me show you the counterweights. So, put this off of here. And I'm going to take these 2 pieces of steel, and I'm going to cut a hole. Let me set this down so I can never take both of the stobs off of it. You see this diameter offset here. I'll stand up so you can see how it works in motion. See, it's an offset. What they did is they took a piece of bar stock that is as long as all this, and so it's at least one piece through here, but it starts here, and they milled it at an offset. So this is the original diameter of the bar, and they just milled inside that to get that part. Apparently that was cheaper than anything else they could think of. Well, by taking it, all I need to do is know that diameter, take one of my hole saws and get it as close as I can, and drill a hole in one corner of this, not exactly on the corner so I rob any material, but a little in from the corner, somewhere in here. And then I need to figure out how much weight I have out here, and it's going to be facing this direction, and it's got to fit inside. And you see that from this offset, looking straight down, it masks that that pulley. Well, it'll be smaller than that. I'll have to cut the outer edge of it, probably on a lathe or something, or probably just take a cut-off wheel and cut off the edges around, and then probably gradually grind it. Now, in fact, what I might end up doing though is when I get it completely mounted on here, is mount that in a vise and mount the piece together where I can sit there and just very slowly work it by hand. And I'm hoping what I'll end up being able to do, I had one around here, don't know where I put it, but I had starter rings from small flywheels from electric start motors. I've got some electric start flywheels around here somewhere. They're too thick to do this. I need it to be just that thick because it's got to fit in between here. That's literally all, that's another side of it. This is all the clearance I have, and it just happens to be, for perspective, turn around with it, that's just the right width. Otherwise I could use brake rotors or other larger dimension masses that could be closer in. But that's all the more I've got, so I've got to generally put something in there that's going to be the same thickness, because that's all the clearance I have. But this bearing right here, if you look, rides in a little, essentially a Scottish yoke. That bearing rides in that pocket right there, and that pocket rides right here. And so you've got just that much room minus the bolts, so I'll have to modify the bolting. In fact, probably what I'll end up doing is I'll weld bolts in here to go through and bolt in from the back. There are already holes drilled. And also, you notice that this is already wobbled out real bad. Well, the bolts that were in there also were shaking apart. Let me see if I can show you one here. Here's one. See how it's got almost no threads left on it? So I've got to, if I use bolts, it'd have to be shouldered bolts. So probably what I'll end up doing is I'll weld in studs into that piece right there and bolt them through that. And then when they're welded into that piece there, I might even just go ahead. The only reason that I didn't opt to weld for that is it's really hard to put that on if you don't. And one reason that studs might be a problem is that too. So I have to check that. That may still not be a viable option. In case what I might end up doing instead is I may weld in another plate on here that's threaded, and then tap it all with a larger diameter bolt with fine threads, and then put them in there. I don't know, those are out at the corners and it may not do very well, because if they're out too far they'll just tear loose. So I've got a lot of engineering to do to get this done. But if I can get that bearing right there, now you might, well, you talk about this bearing over here. If you've ever seen a modern day crankshaft balancing mechanism, what they do is they have two different counterbalances timed to each other by a gear, so that they oppose one another in one direction and agree with one another going the other direction. And if I can direct you to a guy, he's got a channel called Driving for Answers. He's a gentleman over somewhere in Europe. I'm not sure where, Romania, Poland, Germany, I don't know where he's at. He's over there somewhere. And he shows exactly how those balancing engines work. And it's pretty ingenious. But you do have to have a weight that has gears on it that goes all the way around. But it has to have the weight that all agrees with each other. They have to be timed synchronously. So that's how that'll go. We'll get more into that. So this is more free junk than I got. Somebody threw these out. They're what I guess called vaping machines. I won't be using them for that. But as long as the batteries on them are even slightly good, they come with chargers. That charger's still in its plastic case. And it's got an adapter. So I've got rechargeable lithium batteries. I got this, which blew my mind. This is like nearly new, and yet somehow somebody decided to throw this away. Now, I don't normally wear makeup, and people say, well, of course not. Well, I've worn makeup before. I've done lingerie modeling back in my less righteous years. But this was just thrown away. Here it is for free. So, well, if nothing else, I've got the case. I'm not going to tear it up right now. Who knows? I might get back in the music industry. If I do, a lot of people are going to be real unhappy with me. Especially those that know how I used to hang out with some pretty rough individuals. But for now, it's nearly complete, and it's free. So either that, or I might do something else with it, take all the insides out and make it into a portable toolbox. I don't know. In which case it'll stop being pretty real quick. It'll be all tore up, and it'll tore it from the floor up. But that's part of the free junk I got. I got one 1 foot square mirror out of there, and that, well, not real comment worthy. The only other thing that I can even remark on at all today, I guess, go down and look and see how much, if any, my blackberry has grown. There were blister beetles out yesterday afternoon on those, whatever those plants are, so I have to get in there and spray for blister beetles again. And it's some of the more succulent plants are heat stressing right now, or dry stressing, I should say, because like this morning, it cooled off, started cooling off here a couple of days ago, when a teeny little wet blip dripped down on from above. I probably need to water this blackberry again, but I keep forgetting to. It's my own fault. Now, I guess dogwood looks like it's heat stressing a little too. Some of the bigger trees are heat stressing. This is, by the way, it's that mud hole that I keep telling everybody need to fix and fill out. It's hard at the moment because it's dry, but you can see it's deforming when it gets wet. This doesn't wash when it's dry, thankfully. Dry, wash and dry. Wash and dry. There you go. So let's see if this thing is surviving over here in its little hidey hole, for hopefully protected from grasshoppers. Holy moly, it's doing terrible. It's really doing bad. I better go get some water. And it's losing its leaves because it's too dry. Yeah, I've been meaning to get back over here, and I kept forgetting, and this is what the byproduct of that is. That it's drying out real bad. So I better get over here with some water, or it's going to be dead. Oh well. I'll get to it. I will definitely get to it. I should have checked on it sooner. It's really hurting in this hot weather, or the past hot weather. It was hot. It was in the hundreds, and it was dry, so a lot of things aren't doing well. We had loads and loads and loads of rain this spring, but most of it's gone and drained out or evaporated. I'm guessing the creek is probably down, but I don't particularly care to walk down there. Well, that's pretty much everything else I've got to talk about this Sabbath that's happened over the week. A little bit of welding and engineering going on, so that I can fix that violent self-destruction machine. If I can get it fully balanced properly, it'll quit shaking so violently, at least until something bigger breaks. Basically, if I can get it built right, it'll essentially, if I can get it built right, it will be smooth to the touch, and it won't mean there's no stress in the mechanism. It'll just mean there's less felt vibrations, and fewer things will be coming apart, and then it'll have a stronger frame. See, the main part of the load being experienced in theory is right here in the center point, because all the weight is balanced off of here. This bar goes through here, so realistically that's the point where the greatest amount of force is applied. However, because of the fact that this was bolted together, leverage on these edges is yanking that apart. So by balancing all this, a lot of this rotational leverage going like this will kind of be neutralized in all directions if I get it built right. And one of the big problems also is not only the heaviness of the original thing, but this head that I built on here that's extra strong is also extra heavy, and therefore extra abusive. And somebody said, well, we should have made a lighter head. Well, the lighter head tore up too. In fact, that's just it. The original head tore up, so I made one that wouldn't tear up. Well, in making a head that won't tear up, all I'm doing is the old saying, kicking the can down the road, pushing the problem on somebody else. If I can make it out of titanium or something like that, it'd be a different story. I'd be making everything lighter. But I'm not in that position to do that right now, so what we have is what we have until we can do better. Wish I could get my big sickle bar mower going, but I don't even know what it needs yet, besides the fact that it needs a full 5-foot bar on it, 5 or 6, however long it is. I mean, it can be powered by the tractor, and that's 45 horsepower, and it's got a counterbalance already built into it. But that's for another day. So, well, that's all I'm going to talk about now. That's all I've got going on. I got bits and pieces of metal hanging around. I've been out welding, and I've been getting very healthy, and thank you for everybody's good wishes and prayers and everything, because I'm doing better now, and hopefully I'll even be doing much better. We'll see. Oh yeah, I guess I should mention one last thing, and that is my little pecan. And somebody said, what's special about this pecan? So, because that I know of around here, it's the only pecan. Everything else is considered a wild hickory. But if I can get that to grow, maybe I can graft to it. I don't know. Well, I'll talk to some tree experts eventually. I'd like to have some big, giant paper shell pecans. Those are lovely. But you gotta have the right tree, the right size to graft to. So, okay, that's it for now. Happy Sabbath to everybody. See you next week.